If you look at my life on paper, it looks like garbage. But who cares about paper? Where I am now is arguably in one of the best places I've ever been in my life. I have a wonderful boyfriend, goofiest goddamn dogs known to mankind, great kids, smart, funny, so funny kids. This property is amazing. Being able to live out here, I've got deer that visit in the back. You can build a really good life out of shit that's just that simple. I was born in 1974 at the Montreal General. My mother was a single mother, pregnant with twins. I adored my mom, I loved her. I was also terrified of her. Well, I was born with club feet. My big toes touched the insides of my legs. There was an incident when I was about 7 months old. They put the braces on me, and I guess the angle of how it was pushing my feet out were too high. Maybe crying for hours upon hours upon hours. But it was my mom who told me. She said she slapped me over and over and over again until I stopped crying. She basically knocked me semi-conscious to shut me up. Physical discipline was a given. It never occurred to her not to use it. The worst incident was we used to go to parties at friends of my parents' house, and a bunch of other people ended up crashing out. And we were about 11, 12. The host, he hemmed this guy into a sofa bed using my sister and I. In the middle of the night, I woke up because his hands were on me. I tried to roll further away from him, and he followed me. I bolted to the bathroom and found my sister trying to sleep on the floor. We curled up together on a bath mat, and we tried to sleep the night. About 4 or 5 in the morning, we woke my mom up. Said, "We need to go home. We need to tell you what happened last night." We told her, and she cried, you know, obviously. She was very disappointed in herself. She asked us what we wanted to do, you know, like, do you want to call the cops? And so, of course, this is back in the 80s. You don't want to call the cops back then. On that walk home, my mom said, "Well, at least this is the first time anything like this has happened to you guys." And both my sister and I were like, "What you talking about, Willis?" Of course, no. And Lori told a story or two of hers, and I told her about a number of different incidents that had happened to my life, and she was like, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" And I'm like, well, the big one was being lured out of a park at around 7 or 8 years old, and on that one I was actually raped. I explained that to her, and I was like, well, because when you found me, you dragged me home screaming at me that how stupid I was, that I had no concept whatsoever what could have happened to me, and then you beat the shit out of me. And I mean, there was more blood in my underwear from what you did to me, Mom, than what he did to me. The next day, my mom turns around to me and says, "You know, I've been thinking. All that stuff you told me yesterday?" I was like, "Yeah?" She's like, "You did that on purpose to call me a bad mom. And I'm not even sure half of it was true. But I know what you were trying to do. You were just trying to hurt me. And I don't think that was really fair of you." And I just remember bursting into tears, and I ran. I don't even remember where I went. I walked for hours. By the time I got home, everybody was pretending nothing had happened. Nothing had been said. And that was it. It had not occurred to me that she didn't see me as a human being, that she saw me as this object, her daughter, that was supposed to turn out a certain way, and I was fucking it up. I had made a deal with myself that I was not going to allow anyone in my family to negate or rug sweep what had happened in my childhood. The military was the seed when I cut off opportunities for physical, emotional, or verbal abuse. But to get into the military, how does somebody with medium-sized foot deformities get into the Canadian military? Well, first off, you join the reserves. Second off, you take your feet, you tuck them underneath the gurney while you're sitting there getting your physical. They presume you have normal feet, so I just worked on that presumption and kept on going. You know, and ate a lot of Tylenol, huge amounts of Tylenol. I learned a lot in the military about where my responsibilities lie and about fixing problems. We don't have more oil in there, do we? The future's a little of a hard subject for me right now. I'd love to say I'm going to get my hunting license and my gun license, and I'm gonna get me a moose. I would love to have that as a goal. That would be so freaking awesome. But fact of the matter is, I wouldn't make the walk. What projects I have now are about making those goals for the future better for me. The ice shack is to make it possible for me to continue ice fishing because there's going to be a bed in there. One of the things I realized is that as a human being, I am not very ambitious. This pleases me. Just cooking with Adam every day and Gage getting home from school. I don't need a whole lot of money. I don't need a fancy car. As long as she runs, I don't care about those things. It's not some, like I'm some preternatural creature who just, pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I pulled myself up by grace of freaking antidepressants and a lot of therapy, That's what it takes. You gotta do the work.